Well, good afternoon and welcome to CCMA's webinar on the 5 best things I do each fall from outreach to university relations. And we're pleased to have with us today Maggie Riggins. Maggie Riggins is a cradle Catholic from Schuylkill, Schuylkill. I know that road,
Mhm.
Schuylkill Expressway, Schuylkill
Mhm.
County, Pennsylvania, and I always got lost on that road, where there was a church and a bar on every corner. Wow. She attended DeSales University for a bachelor's degree in theology and philosophy and Villanova University for a master's in theology. She has been a campus minister at DeSales University for the past 17 years and has served on the boards of numerous ministry organizations, including her current membership in the Alliance for Campus Ministry, which serves as a consulting body for the U.S. CCB. She lives in Emmaus with her husband, Brett, her daughter, Raquel, and her in-laws, and she indicates she'd like prayers for that. And I just want to remind you, Maggie, this is being recorded, so too
Okay.
late now. She is also a coach of her daughter's CYO basketball team, and she never met a cookbook or a board game she didn't like. And she's excited to be here with all of us today for this webinar sponsored by CCMA. So welcome, Maggie, and I'll now turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Frank. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining the CCMA webinar, The Best Things I Do Each Fall. I'd like to begin our time together with prayer. So if you could join me in sort of centering ourselves and silencing ourselves and really prepare ourselves to be together for this next hour. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Good and gracious God, thank you for the gift of life, for the gift of this day, and specifically this present moment on this webinar. Whether fully engaged or multitasking, we pray for a wonderful experience. Thank you for the lives you've given us to be able to work in this unique service to the church as Catholic campus ministers. Thank you. We love you. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. So to get started with our webinar here, I know Frank gave a fantastic little bio of me, but I think it might be nice to be able to get to know me a little bit more. Now I'm hitting enter on my PowerPoint. It's not letting me forward.
You want to hit your right arrow?
The right arrow. Here we go. Maybe if I close this. No, I don't want to leave the meeting.
No, please
The
not.
right arrow is not working.
Okay. Why don't you just hit escape for a moment? Sorry, folks. Little technical glitch here. I take back everything I said, Maggie.
Okay.
Just how about your escape key? For the
I'm hitting
moment?
escape. Nothing's
It's
happening.
not dropping back to PowerPoint.
No.
Okay, you're probably locked up then. Um, you'll need to
Oh, here we
Oh,
go. I'm moving.
bada bing. You're on.
Bada bing, bada boom. All right. So everybody can hear me now again? Or keep hearing me? Fabulous.
We hear
Okay,
you.
so who am I? All right, so Magpie is the name that only my mom ever calls me, but I think what I wanted to just point out is the importance of family in this work of ministry that we do, either that they inspired us to study the faith and be involved in the church. Like in my bio said, there was a church and a bar in every corner. I'm from Schuylkill County, Pennsylvania, which is a coal region town, and in the early 1900s, it was a major immigrant place. So there was the Lithuanian church and the Polish church and the German church, and I think they all had their own little speakeasy on the corner. So I come from an area where people worked hard, prayed hard, and partied hard. But I have my family to thank for my love of the faith. I'm also married. That's me and my husband, Brett. We've been together for 15 years, and he is a wonderful supporter of someone that works in this ministry, because that involves all of our late nights and weekends and everything that we have to do. That's not a normal job. So it's wonderful to have that support in a spouse. And also, that's my little kiddo. That's Raquel. She is now 12 and in 7th grade, the year it all starts. So even prayers for that would be awesome. But she's such a joy. And I used to say, the Lord has blessed us with one so far. But I think I might be dropping those last 2 words. So it might just be the Lord has blessed us with one. So that's a little bit about me and my name. I'm Mrs. and my mom as a mom. I'm also the campus minister at DeSales University. I'm starting my 18th year. The last 6 of those as director. The picture that I just pulled up there in all of our matching t-shirts, don't we look so cute? That's from our freshman retreat this year with our leaders and our chaplain and our GA, Jen, who's also on our webinar. Thanks for being here, Jen. A mentee. So that photo is of myself and 2 other campus ministers that I look up to, and I look up to a lot of people in this profession. But I know that when I think of the fall and I think of start of the year, I think of the support systems that we should have in place to help us in our job as campus ministers. So not only our families, our friends, our spouses, our confreres, our diocesan families, all those people that support us. I think it's also important to have a mentor within the profession. When I started in campus ministry, my director and chaplain said, you need to have a mentor because at some point you're going to want to complain to somebody about me, right? So I'm sure we have our mentors that might be our current directors or other people that we work with in ministry, but it's also really great to have someone that's away from your situation that you can talk to that would have just another view, another viewpoint, another objective kind of reality that they can share with you. So the 2 people that I have there is Mary Matunis. She used to be a chair of CCMA about, I'd say 15, 20 years ago or so. She's in this diocese in Allentown, Pennsylvania right now. We stay in touch. And the other person there right in the middle is Father Jay Friedel, and he is in the Diocese of Springfield, Illinois. Some of the other roles that I've had is that bottom picture is from Frank J. Lewis in 2012, I believe. So my Frank J. Lewis planning team nicknamed me Madam Director, which I will, I guess, smile and chuckle at. But I was able to direct the Frank J. Lewis Institute, which is run through the USCCB. It's a campus ministry orientation program. I've done that for 4 years. I'm also on the hook to do 2 more, but there's some reconfiguration of what an orientation program is going to look like for campus ministry in the future. So just stay abreast of that. I'll make sure that all of us in the country know what's going on with that, especially if you have new campus ministers. The picture above that it looks like I'm boring a couple bishops to death at a bishop's breakfast at the USCC conference in November when they have their conference in Baltimore. And that was a part of CCMA's bishop's breakfast that they would host and honor a bishop for their support of campus ministry. And that was when I had served on the CCMA executive board for a couple of years. So that's me. So for fall ministry, I know our title was the best, the 5 best things I do in fall. And as you could tell from my first 2 slides that I love alliteration with all my M words to talk about myself, that I figured for fall ministry, I shouldn't say F words, maybe I should say words that begin with F. And if you even want to think about some yourself, start jotting a couple down, of when you think of fall and campus ministry, what words come to mind? So the picture that I have up there is, again, you can tell it's fall, you have the leaves changing. This was when we did a women's retreat at a house I used to have. There was a private lake and it was really gorgeous. So when I thought of fall, I thought of the leaves changing in the Northeast here and wanted to get the ball rolling. Now, again, the title said 5 best things. I kind of got on a roll with thinking about words that begin with F. And I came up with 7. Okay, so that seems like a more Catholic kind of number. So we're going to roll with 7 and see if you came up with a couple of the same ones yourself. So here we go. Our first F word. Freshman. Okay, this is surprise. So when we think about fall ministry, we really want to be welcoming our new students. You know what, let me back up for 1 second. With the 5 words, or I'm sorry, the 7 F words that I'm going to be using, these are all very general and generic, as you could see from the first word that I used was freshman. This is all from my experience. I've worked at the same university for 18 years, so I'm coming at this from working at a Catholic college and university. Now, but I wanted to make this webinar very general and applicable so that no matter where you are and no matter what your staff looks like or what your Newman Center is like, that these things are all things that we should be doing as campus ministers. And throughout this webinar, I'll give us appropriate breaks because I might be mentioning something that is, might work here, but might not work at your place. But I want to hear and have us all share, what is it that is working at your place that adds to this fall ministry theme. So hopefully you get something out of our time together, and if not, hopefully you can add something to it. So I'm looking for, additions to what I have to say as well. So hopefully this time will be inspiring, it'll be challenging, hopefully I'll include some things to integrate, and I'm really looking forward for everyone to chime in. So we'll go back to our wonderful little first freshman page here. So fall is all about the freshmen. How do we welcome the stranger, and how do we do that, and do we do that well? So the first thing I think about is all of those orientations and club fairs and welcoming experiences. Do we have a presence at those? And not only are we there, well, what are we doing when we're there? What are we talking about? What are we giving away? What kind of impression does our display give? How do we welcome people when they're walking by that table? You know, and I think that for some people, that's the first time that they know that Catholic Campus Ministry exists at our place. And whether that's when orientation starts in the fall, but that could even go back to when they're visiting campus and all of that. All of the times when they're visiting our university. How do we welcome the stranger? How do we, what information do we give them as soon as they get to campus at our nice little tables, you know, that we might have set up somewhere? I know for us, one of the things that has worked very well is condensing our information to one information sheet. So at the beginning of each semester, we have absolutely everything that Campus Ministry offers smushed onto one page, that as people come up to a table or they're near the office, I can shuffle them out to them pretty easily, that they get a good sense of what we have to offer. And those are typically separated into the Catholic spiritual offerings, things specifically for freshmen, weekly opportunities, service events. What if you're not Catholic? You know, again, this is for Catholic colleges too. It's, you know, things that just would highlight the different things that we would offer, but it's all on one sheet, so it doesn't become a little overwhelming. Secondly, with freshmen, you know, we like to offer the freshman retreat pretty much right at the beginning of the year, typically right at the end of September. For a lot of our students, and maybe this is true at your university, our freshmen tend to go home a lot on the first couple weekends because they're a little nervous and they're still making friends, and you know they're not sure what to do on the weekends. So when we kind of get through that Labor Day time and maybe they go home again, by the time late September hits, that's when we zap them with our freshman retreat. So these are just some of our photos of our groups that have gone on the retreat, and to do something very specific for them. So for us, it's a freshman retreat. For you, it might be something else. But what's something that you do on your campus that is specifically for freshmen, that only involves them, that allows them to have that peer-to-peer interaction, the ability to make some friends, to meet a couple upperclassmen that also care about their faith. For us, it works to be a freshman retreat. Maybe some other campuses have something else that you do right at the beginning of the year specifically for freshmen. So we'll pause at some point and to do that, but I have one more slide about freshmen. So with freshmen, we want to make sure that they know our big events, right? What are the things that our Catholic Campus Ministry is known for, or that all the upperclassmen are aware of? I specifically put these two events on our slide here, Agape Latte and Salesian Spirits. So you look at the two names of those. So let's take Greek, Italian, and a pseudo-Frenchish word, and freshmen have no clue what they are, right? Everybody else on campus, you say Agape Latte, they know what we're talking about. That on-campus speaker series where faith, love, and life combine, and there's free coffee and music, but freshmen don't know that, right? So how do we introduce them to these brand new events that everybody else kind of knows about, but our freshmen aren't aware of them? The same thing with Salesian Spirits. That's our version of Theology on Tap. But Salesian is not a word I think the general population knows, even in the Catholic world. Like, people know Franciscan, you know, the other Francis. People know Dominican. They might know Augustinian, you know, but you throw Salesian out there and what? Like, even half the campus here doesn't even know what that means. So I want us to just be mindful of when we're referring to things in that the catchphrases that we have from being comfortable and involved in our ministry for a certain amount of time, or how our seniors refer to different events. You know, are we using language or names for things that we really we want to be mindful to make sure that the freshmen know what we're doing. So hopefully that makes sense. Because I know at our campus, we have a million things that are, oh, well, you want to see Jamie in the CSSJ, you know, and you throw all these letters at people and they're like, well, they don't know that that means Center for Service and Social Justice. So not only doing welcoming things, not only having, you know, great table displays, not only doing things specifically for freshmen, but also looking at the way that we name our programs and what we're doing to make sure that we're able to welcome the stranger, not only in that hospitable way of doing things for them, but making sure that they understand the language. So at this point is when I'm going to take a nice little break and open it up for comments and questions, but really more insight into what do other people do specifically for freshmen, something that I perhaps didn't mention, or if somebody has a question about anything that we do, this will be the time to hit up Frank with a question or open a mic.
Okay, well, thank you, Magpie. Sherry has a question, comment actually. She says, I wonder if people at other public universities find that late September is too late for a freshman retreat. So if anybody would like to comment on that, you can simply send that text over. And Maggie, if you want to comment on that, go ahead.
Sure. I think the timing works well for us in terms of having them sort of get used to campus. And again, we have a population that leaves on the weekends. And thinking about a Newman Center and public schools you might want to grab them pretty quickly. Just because I have sort of general access to all the students, I can send an email to every single freshman on campus if I want to. Newman Centers don't necessarily have that access. So in one sense, I think if you're going to do something with freshmen, probably the earlier the better. Maybe a freshman welcome bonfire, or something else that would happen that might not be retreat centered, but another event really on early in the year to engage them immediately. But also, seeing what freshmen are interested, and then seeing if you could do something just specifically for them and their friend group. So just anything that engages them right away.
Great. And Christine says, we used to do ours at the end of September, but this year we moved it to the first week of school, and we had the same number as past years. And she also followed that up with question to you, Maggie. How long is your freshman retreat?
We do one basically 24 hours. We leave on a Friday night, and we time it during homecoming weekend, and that's very intentional. So we leave on it because they don't know anybody that's coming back to campus. So homecoming doesn't really technically mean anything for them. So when we leave on Friday night, we'll get to a retreat center about an hour away, and we bring them back to campus around 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, because that's at the height of the sporting events when social times are happening on campus. So that when we bring them back to campus, they get off the bus and they have a little group of friends, and then they have something to do, right? So they're coming from a nice spiritual experience to the social experience to really keep those friendships going. So that's really, I'm looking at whatever the weekend of homecoming is, that's our freshman retreat.
Great. Let's see. Sherry's who had commented earlier says ours is also about 30 hours, Friday, Saturday away at camp.
Excellent.
All right. Any other comments?
All right. Shall we?
All right. Go ahead. Thank you.
All right. We'll move it along. So our next word that begins with F is fellowship. So, at DeSales, we have a unique situation where, we're at a Catholic university. I have my office, but there's also this little tiny house on campus that we're able to use for different ministry events. So it's sort of meshing a Newman house on a Catholic campus, but we're able to use that house for different just gatherings and opportunities for our students to just be with each other. So right at the beginning of the year in fall, we're always looking again to welcome the new people. How do we reach out to the new people? So again, one of the other things that we do for freshmen is reaching out to the freshman commuters. So I really see this population as the ones that are the most vulnerable and a little fragile, because they want to be making friends, but they have that stress of only being on campus, maybe for their classes. Maybe they're also working. They can't get to a lot of our events because a lot of things are in the evenings, and they're just not available to be on campus. So we host a freshman commuter lunch, and we're able to do that. And that's something that's really great and well received. We will also host events specifically for our transfer students. Again, people that are just brand new to the university, but sometimes they're people that we don't think about because, we're so focused on the freshmen. It's the beginning of the year. It's a brand new year. Let's get the new students. But let's not forget the other new students that are our transfer students. And again, I don't, if they have to be dinners or lunches, or even if you don't have that capability. I know when I started in campus ministry and everybody mentioned these fellowship dinners, I kept rolling my eyes like, I don't have any place to do that. So I get it. If you're rolling your eyes right now, it's okay. But, but to remember to be thinking of the other populations that might be a little vulnerable. So not just the freshmen in general, but also those freshman commuters that want to make a connection and want to do something. So if there's something that maybe you can do specifically, or even for all commuters, that's during the morning or during the day, and to remember those transfer students that are also brand new and aren't really familiar with what Catholic Campus Ministry may have to offer. So we're able to do, we also have homeschooled students. So I think that's also another population that might feel a little shaky and vulnerable. It's their first time that they're in a social situation where they're in classes with a whole bunch of other people. They might be living on campus away from their families. And so that's another population to just remember, to just offer those fellowship moments or times to gather, or for people like minds to meet like situations. So I would recommend, so fellowship. My next F word is familiarity. And this is just all about the campus community. So that's a lovely picture of our DeSales University Center. But I think fall is a wonderful time that, if you have a little bit of extra time, or use your lunch break to walk around campus and to see where all the buildings are. And, I'm maybe with our population that's on the webinar that, you've been at your campus for a long time, or maybe you're brand new, but have you been in every building? Do you know where things are? When students mention, again, like some fancy name for a building that you don't know what it's called. I mean, we have a million different names for things. Our DeSales University Center is the Duck. So, are you familiar with where things are on campus? So I think that's a good thing to do in the fall, is to check out your own campus. And then also, that's a picture of our nursing department. And I think it's important to also familiarize ourselves with our other people on campus, of who could be the important people to know. And I would have other people chime in to, let's say, who are the, other people that you think as a Catholic campus minister, you really need to know on campus. Maybe it's the director of residence life, the director of counseling. Perhaps if you're looking to do a speaker series and you want to invite a faculty member, to know that your students we have a whole bunch of nursing majors. It might be really great for me to connect with the nursing department and the faculty there, just to introduce myself and to get to know them, because I keep hearing these professors come up over and over again. And we have the shared experience of being formative in that student's life. So familiarity of the campus, just a nice little general thing of getting to know the lay of the land and getting to know some other people that might be really great people to know on your campus. So at this point, I'm going to also open that up. Oh, just one other thing. I wrote a note. We have a new VP of mission here at the university, Father Kevin Nadolski, and his goal of the year, if not just this first semester, is 50 cups of coffee. He wants to meet with 50 different people in different areas of the university and just meet them for a cup of coffee. Now that might be, again, we're looking at our schedules. We're a little packed. It's a little crazy. This could be another eye roll. But is there an opportunity that you see an article that a professor wrote because it's in an email somewhere or in the campus newspaper, that you write them a little note or an email saying, hey, I heard that. Hey, I'd really love to meet you for a cup of coffee. The worst thing that they could say no, and the best thing is they say yes, and you can enjoy a cup of coffee. So that might be an idea that I'll start incorporating next year. But you don't want to see me on a coffee. It'll probably be like for hot chocolate or decaf tea. So at this point, I'm going to open it up again. So fellowship and familiarity. How do we reach some other vulnerable populations on campus? And what are some techniques that we're using to meet other faculty and staff members on our campuses?
Great. So you can either send me a note to open up your microphone. You can actually open up your microphone yourself if you'd like, or you can send a note, and here they come. So James said, I always meet with the faculty advisors to the other faith-based groups on our campus at the start of each semester. So multi-faith.
Great. Thank you. That's an excellent point.
Any others?
Hi, this is Megan Larson-Reedy from the Diocese of Pittsburgh.
Hi, Megan.
Hi. So I am kind of in a unique situation. I actually work at 3 campuses, and I rotate between the 3 of them. So I've had a great opportunity to meet a lot of different people. But every person I meet, I try to think of just a connection point with them. So I've met with students about service projects, and the best example of this is I saw a student at one of the private schools where I work was wearing a Kairos cross, but I knew that he probably went to a Jesuit high school. So I started talking with him, and he was sharing with me that he wanted his fraternity to do more service events. So I was like, great, use the Newman Center. I last year especially, I paired with that fraternity a lot for a lot of different service events. So it got students into the Newman Center. And then second semester, they actually invited me to the frat house to do a service event with them. And it was never a space that I thought I would be in, but it was just a really great opportunity to connect. So I think that was my biggest takeaway when you were talking about familiarity of spaces. At this school in particular, 40% of the population is part of Greek life, and I knew that I needed to get my face known in that capacity, and the best way to do it was to befriend some of these students who were already immersed in that. So that was my big takeaway. And then when I first started the job, I have been working 1 year ago last week. The first thing I did at each of the campuses was I took a tour of each campus led by a student, and I just asked them a ton of questions. And every building we passed, I was like, okay, that's the formal name. What do students call it? So it was easy way for me to see the campus through the perspective of a student, but to also ask them very direct questions as I was passing by buildings or things like that. So that's my comment.
Great, Megan. Well, thank you so much. I mean, you are familiarity in action, but you have to be with those 3 campuses.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Sherry said, we also meet regularly with the Campus Religious Leaders Organization, which invites one or more university leaders, like the Dean of Students or Admissions, Director of Wellness, VP of Student Affairs, and so forth each month.
Fantastic. Great. Thank you. All right. We're going to move it on to our next word that begins with F.
Fantastic.
Oh, wait. I think I'm locked up again somehow. Oh, I have to click out of the, how do I do? Oh, there we go. Okay, to be a fan. Okay, this is something that is becoming more prevalent in my work in campus ministry. I think so often we always ask the questions, well, how do we get blank more involved in our ministry? You know, that could be, how do we get more athletes involved in our ministry? How do we get more theater students involved in our ministry? And sometimes we could beat our heads against the wall because we want them to be involved, but the fact is they are so jam-packed with their schedules already that the answer might be to go to them. So I'm saying to become a fan. So one of the things that we're able to do in ministry is that top picture there is me and our former chaplain, Father Tim. We're doing hot dogs for the Bulldogs. Okay, so we're Bulldogs. We're just giving away hot dogs at one of the men's or women's soccer games. And we had them announce things over the speakers. We were raising money for their pink game. And that campus ministry loves our Bulldogs. We put that on a rally towel, and we sponsor, quote unquote, sponsor one of the men's and women's basketball games, and we're giving out the rally towels to all the fans. And again, it's not, I won't say it's not direct ministry. It is direct ministry, right? We talk about ministry of presence all the time. And for our student athletes and for students that are in majors that make it very difficult for them to do anything outside the classroom, by going to them and showing, listen, I know you can't be involved in this Bible study or go on this retreat or do anything, but campus ministry, we're here to show our love and support of you. So one of the things that I usually say about our ministry here is not everyone's involved in ministry, but ministry is involved in everything. And I know that could be a little overwhelming, but we pick and choose. Maybe, we didn't get to a soccer game. I'm hoping to get to a volleyball playoff game, but sort of take a look at the calendar, specifically if you have students involved that are in a specific something. I still remember my sophomore year of college, which was over 20 years ago, and I invited my biology teacher to my basketball game, and he showed up. And that is one of my top memories of having, this adult come to see me do something that I was involved in campus, and it wasn't a ministry thing. So, so just think about that of just other ways to be a fan. We have a very popular fine arts department here. So again, going to the play, going to dance performances. We have a television film, film festivals, and maybe your presence isn't going to be noticed, but going to something like that and then writing a little card to the director or the professor that's in charge of it, or even one of the students whose performance you really enjoyed, just saying, I just wanted you to know that I was there. This was a really great experience. Thank you for sharing your gifts and talents with this university. And then also the chemistry, we do chem demos for like little middle schools. And again, that's another way where, if our students are stuck in labs all day and they don't have time to really get involved, or anyone in medical fields or studies that they're super stressed out all the time and, have to study, being able to go to anything that they're doing would also be a fantastic ministry of presence. So becoming a fan. Formation, I just threw this on here, and then I realized the irony of it, of talking about the importance of professional development while we're all on a webinar. So awesome job, everybody. But just, I have a picture up there of Crystal Sullivan from the University of Dayton. She was one of our speakers at the campus ministry orientation a few years ago. The other picture is a program for mission leaders, and I'm in there in the middle somewhere. But again, that ongoing formation of, when it hits the fall, I kind of start thinking of, we get all of our ministry in place, we start doing and planning all of our events, and then, we need that time to sort of sit back and say, well, how do I know if I'm doing, just kind of time to reflect on ourselves as a minister, and also to reflect on ourselves as just a human being and as a Christian. So maybe there's a professional development opportunity that's coming up that I would I scour for those. I check my budget to go to those. I, see if it's doable for us, my staff, to attend. Then also I look for other opportunities is there a retreat that my diocese is sponsoring that I can go to? Is there is my parish offering something for women, or whatever it is? There's some sort of spiritual development or professional development. I think of in the fall to even just plan for something during this academic year where I can work on myself professionally and personally. And even if it is personally, the better Christian that I am, the better I can serve the students that I'm serving. So I think everything just goes hand in hand. So formation is another F. And I think we're doing okay with time here. Okay. So of course, the next F is faith, and with prayer. Now I believe the last webinar was all about sort of spirituality and prayer practices as being a campus minister. So I don't want to spend too much time on this. But I think, again, like I was saying about, being able to spend time with yourself and focus on your own prayer life. Sometimes we get so wrapped up in being present and helping and walking on the spiritual journey with our students that we don't want to neglect our own, so we make sure that we set up a little bit of time. And since the word Salesian might be new to a lot of people on our webinar here, there is a very Salesian way to pray, and it's very similar to a lot of the other spiritualities. But Francis DeSales was really big on the preparation of the day. And that really is at the heart of my own prayer life is, I'm very schedule oriented, right? My planners, it's not necessarily color coded, but you open up, it's in a rainbow, right? And so we're very scheduled and organized. And so for the preparation of the day, I pray for all of those things that I know are going to be happening. So for instance, for today, I had a 9 a.m. meeting with our care team, where we talk about students that may be struggling in class or in personal issues and how can we help them. Then the registrar office had an open house where they have a potluck. So I ate, I had like a sloppy Joe at 10 a.m. So, it's going to be a good day. So I knew that was going to happen. Then the webinar, and then later tonight we have a women's group meeting. So you pray for the specific things that are going to happen so that when they happen, you've already called to mind that God's going to be present there. Then, that's only the things that we know about that are going to happen in our day. So then I pray for the things that I have no clue is going to happen, right? So I call those the unexpected blessings. And maybe not everything's a blessing. It could be that unexpected moment, that email that you get that you weren't ready to deal with, the student that walked in your door that's crying because they have this issue. Those aren't the things that you knew about, but as preparing your day, you've already prayed about them. So when they do happen, it's like, God, this is what you had in mind for my day. I already knew what I had in my mind, but that student walking through my door, that's my unexpected moment, my unexpected blessing of what God had in mind for me. So that's the way that I pray, is the preparation of the day. Also, Francis DeSales is very good at calling to mind the presence of God in everything that we do. I'm sure this sounds familiar in a lot of other spiritualities, but he did that through a direction of intention. And so the form of it that we pray here is, my God, I give you this action. Please give me the grace to conduct myself during it in a manner most pleasing to you. So again, that's very formal, but again, going into this webinar or going into a meeting that you're going to have, or this interaction with a student that's been a pain in your side, of just calling to mind that God is there, that presence and intentionality of calling to mind the presence of God. So prayer, very important. The other aspect of faith is that every year, and again, it usually happens in the fall, I typically start to think about a spiritual practice or mantra, so to speak, of what's really going to guide me through my professional life as a campus minister. And I've had numerous ones. One was, I'm not going to waste time speaking about the incompetencies of other people, and that has helped a lot. I've also had one where it's, simplify and wing it, like I'm doing right now. Chuckle. Of not being so worried about being over prepared and having everything pre-scripted, and, to be confident in the work that we're doing. And this one that I do want to talk about is, I don't use this word. I erased it from my vocabulary a number of years ago, and I actually do have another. I do a full workshop on the non-use of this word. It's a 4-letter word that I think is really damaging, and I know there's going to be that it's in the title of our next webinar, and I'm like, no. But let me tell you why. And I'm sure we can all relate to this. A few years ago, I had a student walk into my office, and he said, "Maggie, I know you're busy, but..." And for some reason, I'm driving home from work. I know, and we continued our conversation. And for some reason, that really felt unsettling to me. And I'm sure he was just being polite, that he didn't want to interrupt. But then it really made me reflect. Do I give off an air of busyness? Did I look frantic and he felt he was interrupting me? What is this word busy, and how are we using it? So I was trying to be very aware of, do I give off this frantic, oh my gosh, a student comes in, how do I look at them? Do they think I'm busy? And do they think I'm too busy for them? So and basically it's a non-descriptor. I think that's one of the other reasons. It's like, oh, how are you? It's like, I'm busy. Oh, how are you? I'm busy. Well, it's like, are you blinking? I'm blinking. Are you breathing? I'm breathing. Okay, we all have things to do. All right, we're all I say the B word, right? We're all the B word. So in one sense, when somebody asks you how you are, I hope you don't say busy, say something else, because if somebody comes into my office and they're like, hey, Maggie, how are you doing? And I say, well, I'm busy. What did I immediately make them feel? That they're an interruption, right? But they might be coming to talk to me about something, but I use this word that immediately just shove them an arm's length away. So also, I don't use it because I don't want to use it as an excuse. When we're asked to do something or invited to do something, it's like, oh, I'm busy. Well, am I? Well, what am I? Am I really being consciously useful of my time? How am I using my time? So it really made me, by not using the word, believe it or not, forced me to look at my time and see, how am I spending it? Am I being productive, or am I just being quote unquote busy? And I've given this presentation with the students too, and it kind of really rattled them a little bit, because we've had programs where we're going to do service. It's from 9 to noon. And I've already given this presentation. I had a good relationship with the student as well. And the student said, well, I'm busy. I have to write a paper. And I looked at the student and I said, I guarantee from 9 to noon on Saturday, you are not getting that paper done. You know what? Send me the paper at noon. And he starts laughing. And I'm like, no, I'm serious. Like, we have to be thinking of, like, when we're missing opportunities because we're saying we're busy, and sort of the feeling that we can get if we're using that too much. So that's been a spiritual practice of mine, and it really has helped lighten my stress. In all honesty, even when you say, like, oh, I'm busy, like, oh my gosh, to me that just raises my heart rate already. But if I say, hey, I'm fantastic, all right, like, oh, life is full. It's not that I don't have a million things to do, because getting rid of the word doesn't get rid of the responsibilities. but it does absolutely change my outlook. It absolutely changed my stress level, so to speak. It's just been a game changer. So it was a beautiful moment for me, and it's been probably 4 or 5 years. And some of you might have been at that PCCMA conference where I gave that presentation, but it has been a beautiful spiritual practice for me. So, I'll have to have a talk with Tom Shively, see if he wants to, talk about that busyness. But, it's true. We are busy. And even Francis DeSales would say, let us find God in the midst of so much busyness. Okay, and that's the 1600s people. Okay, yeah, I'm sure people were busy all the time, but you look at our lives and we're going a mile a minute as well. But Francis DeSales even said, it's okay to find God in the midst of the busyness. Hence, the direction of intention and calling to mind God all in those situations. Francis DeSales would also say, half an hour's meditation each day is essential, right? That's that prayer piece. Half an hour's meditation each day is essential, except when you are busy, then a full hour is needed, right? So even Francis 400 years ago is telling us to, slow down. Let's take care of your time and see how we go. Speaking of time. Okay, we're right on schedule here. So I'm going to move on to our last F word, which is fun. So hopefully, in the work in your ministry, you find joy, that you're able to laugh, that you wake up in the morning, and maybe it's not every morning, but God, I hope so, that you're just excited to do the work that you're called to do, and that you find some fun and joy in that. The picture that I just have up there on the screen is we did milkshakes after Mass. We had a whole bunch of blenders. We bought milk and ice cream, and some stuff went flying, and the line was out the door, but it was a lot of fun to serve our students, milkshakes after Mass, so that was one of our fun little fellowship-y things that we did. Here I come bouncing in. One of the things that I do for fun, again, it's away from the university, but really not away from the church, is coaching CYO basketball. So I really enjoy doing that. It's service, it's time with my family, but it's also tapping into other talents that I have. Well, so, hopefully, allegedly, in my 40-something years, I could still put the ball in the basket. That we do have a certain joy and pride, in the work that we do, and we could smile when we say we're a campus minister. So I hope we all have that aspect. And this is just tongue in cheek. I'm such a pen girl. I'm a pen and paper girl. You want to make me happy and have fun at work? I just need a good pen and a nice piece of paper, and I'm ready to go. So that is the extent of my F words for fall ministry. So to recap, we focus on the freshmen. And what do we do to welcome them to our campus? What are our fellowship opportunities that we're able to reach those populations that we want to reach, especially our new students to the campus? The lesson of familiarity, of getting to know the campus, the different buildings, the other people that are working at the university, to become a fan of those moments of ministry of presence that might not just be loitering, or hanging out or having lunch, but actually going to different events to show our support of our students and what they're doing. The importance of formation and professional development. Faith, to have a prayer life and possibly your own specific spiritual practice, and then of course to have some fun. So that is what I have to offer. Again, it's very nice, general, generic in a sense. But when I think of fall, these are the big things that I think of, and hopefully it just offered you the opportunity to sort of look at what you're doing in ministry and say, oh, I'm doing this, or maybe you saw something that, oh, I'd like to try that, or hey, this reminds me that we do this. So this is the time again that I would like to open it up to the group to really share the wonderful things that, it's F words, right? So share the fabulous and fantastic things that you're doing on your campus. We'd all love to hear what you're doing.
All right, Maggie, thank you. That was fantastic. And let's hear from all of you now, sending over a text. Either ask me to open up your microphone, or if you have the question, you'd like to type it in or comment, happy to read it for you. Christine asks, are your campus ministry events staff-driven or student leader-driven?
Well, one of the things that, if I could back up to Crystal Sullivan, who I had her picture under formation, one of the things that she said in the professional development opportunity I was at, she said, and again, if you were hit by a bus, how much of your ministry would still exist? So I think there's a danger in having everything be ministry driven, that if you disappear, what happens to the ministry at the place where you're serving? So a lot of the things that we run are student leader driven, but I'm steering the boat. I meet with the leaders. What are they doing? How can I give them the resources to be successful? But again, and then to have that line of succession of, oh, Sophia is going to be a senior, she's going to be graduating, who's going to pick up the torch? And then also to have the lesson in ministry, and if there's somebody that's not going to pick it up, to be able to let that go. So I think I really have taken that to heart, that if it's only me as the campus minister kind of organizing and running and but if something happens to me, my goodness, what would happen to ministry? But I think, there has to be a good balance. You can't just let the students just, take full charge and you have no idea what's going on. That, we're steering the ship along the river to make sure it's going in the right direction.
And Christine sent over an E word, exactly, exclamation point. All right, can we move on to any other questions, comments? If you'd like your microphone open, let me know. You can open it yourself, since a lot of people aren't opening them all at once. That'll work. Or send your question or comment over and I'll read it for you. Okay, Sherry. Okay, this might be another webinar, but how do you use Snapchat?
Well, you know what? I actually have my GA here. She's in charge of our Snapchat, and I have no idea. So I'm going to put her on the spot so she can answer that question. Here you go.
Hi, everyone. So for our Snapchat, we basically use it for advertising for events that are coming up. We'll just take a picture with it if it's like a flyer or something, or, we'll put on the whiteboard, like, this is what's happening tonight, be there. And we also use it at the actual events. We'll take like a quick video of, all the people who are there, maybe a quick snapshot of the speaker, and then just post it so people know what's going on. And you can add people here and there. And I actually have the Snapchat code on my door, so people can just walk by, get the code, and they're added. So that's that.
All righty, folks. Thanks for the lesson on Snapchat. Because more people walked in the office in that few seconds. But I'll watch the video later on. Any other questions, comments for Maggie? Okay, I have none coming over. So it looks like I'll just give it one more second. Alrighty, well, thank you, Maggie. I have no further questions. You covered just about everything we could do with the letter F in this fall, so appreciate that. And thank you for being with us. And for all of you who've joined us today, thank you. I'm sure you have a nugget or two that you're able to take from that. I know I do, and I appreciate your input, Maggie. And the reminder to all of us that the next seminar in November is going to be on November 28th, and it's Tasha, I believe, from St. Joe's University, and Ignatian Spirituality for those who don't say they're busy, or campus professors. So we've learned that lesson here too also. So again, Maggie, thank you very much. Thank you, CCNA, for sponsoring this webinar. And this will be available shortly through the office if you'd like to watch the video recordings. Everybody have a great day. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.